And so what we are right now is we're in a period where people on the left are prepared to use the state to impose, to destroy religious liberty on behalf of a different set of values.
Former Speaker Newt Gingrich speaking with the Huffington Post last year and dealing with a question of Christianity and culture. In today's society, are Christians really allowed to freely practice deeply held religious beliefs, or is there growing cultural and governmental pressure to shape beliefs to what cultural elites demand? The war against Christians in the United States brings into focus people here at home feeling marginalized through political correctness, persecution of their faith, and an imposition of values that invalidates, at least culturally speaking, their long-held traditions. To talk about this more, we're very pleased to be joined by the president of the Southern Evangelical Seminary in Charlotte, North Carolina, Dr. Richard Land. Richard, we appreciate your time. And would you say there is a war on Christians, not only persecution overseas that we've seen, but culturally here in the United States?
Well, I certainly think that there is an increasing hostility in America to people of religious faith exercising their faith outside of their local church or their home. There's no question about that. Now, I don't want to call it persecution because I don't want to in any way seek to not take seriously what's going on overseas, where people are being hung and people are being crucified and people are having their heads cut off. But there certainly is growing religious discrimination and hostility, and we see it. Lifeway did a poll that showed just in the last 2 years that the number of Americans who think that religious discrimination is increasing has gone up to 63%, and among evangelicals it's 80%, and the only segment of the adult population that doesn't think that religious discrimination is increasing are 18 to 24-year-olds, and that's because they don't know anything different, because they just got here.
Let me ask you, over the years, as we have seen this change, this cultural pressure to have Christianity and Christians conform to the world, why has the faith become such a target?
Well, when you live in a society where moral relativism has become the faith of the masses, and when, as Alan Bloom says, the one thing you can rest assured of when you go into a college classroom is that 90% of your students believe in moral relativism. They believe there are no absolutes. The one thing that a moral relativist can't tolerate is someone who believes in absolutes. And of course, as evangelical and conservative Christians, we believe that there are some things that are always right and some things that are always wrong. Everything's not up for redefinition and negotiation. And so we have an increasingly intolerant society that believes there is no such thing as a moral absolute, and they want to compel us, they want to weaponize our own government against us and compel us to affirm and to accept, not just tolerate, but affirm and accept that which we believe is morally unconscionable.
When we take a look at what's happening domestically, economic instability, political instability, civil instability, is this the kind of crisis the cultural elite sees on to try and dictate how faith can be marginalized?
Well, I don't think there's any question. You know, what was it Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste. And they certainly seek to use these kinds of crises. But I think it's more than that, it's the moral relativism. You know, we have a society now that that just flat out believes that there is no normal. Now, if there is no normal, then everything is normal. And if you object to that, then you're a bigot. You're discriminatory. You're seeking. You're a hate monger. And make no mistake about it. If you read the progressive left and you read what they say, their intent is to either compel us to conform and to take certain kinds of sins like gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender sins out of our definition of sin, or they are going to marginalize us to the level of Klansmen.
And you take a look at what is happening in the state where the seminary is located. You join us from Charlotte, and of course in North Carolina, House Bill 2, more commonly known as the bathroom bill, is a subject of great controversy nationally, requiring transgenders to use the bathroom of the gender they were born with instead of the one they identify with. Now, Those in support of the bill understandably say it protects families and children. But Reverend Dr. Rodney Sadler of the Union Presbyterian Seminary says it produces or promotes hate in North Carolina. Let's listen to what he had to say.
We hope that our legislature will show some sense for a change. We hope that they will do the right thing and rescind HB 2, what Reverend Barber has called Hate Bill 2, because that's what it is. It's an attempt to disenfranchise people and to disadvantage them instead of lifting us up.
Your reaction to that perspective, Richard?
Utter piffle and nonsense. 70% of North Carolinians agree with HB 2. 70%. And I can tell you this, that if Governor McCrory had not signed that bill into law, if he had caved like the governor of Georgia caved, he wouldn't have been reelected. I mean, it's just that simple. He's up for reelection. He would not have been reelected. 70% of North Carolinians do not want adult males, biological males, self-identifying as females and going into the bathroom with their 5- and 6-year-old daughters and granddaughters. It's just that simple.
Now it's the restrooms, but overall the fabric of society and the values that we hold with our religious beliefs, are they just being torn asunder by this assault from the left? 20 seconds, Richard.
No question about it. T.S. Eliot, in his Nobel laureate speech in 1949, said that the Christian West faced an inevitable choice between either reasserting the Judeo-Christian values of Western civilization or acquiescing to an emerging paganism. And he was right then, he's right now.
And that is where we will have to leave it. Dr. Richard Land from Charlotte. Sir, you have our thanks. Back with more.